All right. The young hero and the horrible giant.
What's it?
God's people had
What's the giant?
Goliath, right there.
Oh.
Okay, let's read there. We'll get there. God's people had some scary enemies, but the Philistines were the scariest of them all. And now the Philistines had come to fight them. The Philistines had a secret weapon called Goliath. Goliath, right there, was a terrifying soldier, and worst of all, he was a giant. A giant so strong and so tall and so scary that no one had ever been able to fight him and live to tell about it. So, there they were, the Philistines, standing on top of one hill, and God's people standing on top of the other. Every day, Goliath came out and shouted, "Send your best soldier to fight me." Guys, come sit down. "If he wins, we will be your slaves. But if I win, you will be our slaves." No one ever spoke, and no one ever moved. Come here, Elliot. Come sit down. Cullen, come sit down, bud. "Chickens!" Goliath bellowed. "Your God can't save you. I'll rip your heads off and have you on toast." His beady, greedy eyes glowered at them, hungrily from under his horrible helmet, as if any minute he really might just gobble them all up. And he laughed his terrible laugh. Ha 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 ha, it boomed. Ha 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 ha. Echoing horribly around and around the dry valley. Well, Jackson and Elliot and Cullen, Goliath might just as well have been a green, slimy monster with 3 heads.
I don't see Jackson in there.
Because God's people froze with fear. Their eyes glazed over, and they turned deathly pale. They knew if someone didn't do something quick, if someone didn't save them, but God would do something. He would send someone to save them. Now you remember that David was the youngest son of Jesse, don't you? Well, his brothers were soldiers in the army. One day,
Who's Jesse?
remember, David's father was Jesse. He had the 7 sons. When David brought his brothers their lunches, he saw Goliath, and he saw how scared everyone was. David said, "Don't be afraid. I'll fight for you." Hey, Elliot, Daddy's reading the Bible book, okay?
So
"You're only a little
happens if
shepherd boy," the king
kills
said.
Elias, who slays.
Let's listen, we'll find out. "Don't be afraid," David said. "I'll fight for you." But the king said, "You're only a little shepherd boy, David, and Goliath is a great soldier. How will you fight him?" "God will help me," David said. So the king gave David his royal armor to wear. Sit still, Cullen. But it was too heavy and too big, and David couldn't even walk in it. "I won't need this," he said. Instead, David picked out 5 smooth stones from the stream. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He took his slingshot and he walked toward Goliath. Step, step, step. Goliath. Elliot, don't move the garbage truck. Don't move it. Don't touch it. Goliath walked toward David. Thud, thud, thud. Goliath peered down at the small boy. "You?" said Goliath. "Who are you?" "I'm little," David shouted up to him, "but God is great." Goliath laughed, an even terribler laugh than usual. "Ha ha ha ha!" it went. With just one swing of his giant sword, Goliath could finish the boy off. But David kept going. It isn't how strong you are or how many swords and spears you have that will save you. It is God who saves you. This is God's battle, and God always wins his battle. Right, Cullen? Right? David put a stone in his sling. He swung it around and let it go. The little stone flew, whiz, like a bullet through the air, and it struck Goliath, thud, right between the eyes. Goliath stopped laughing, stumbled, staggered, crash, he fell, dead. When the Philistines saw Goliath was dead, they ran away. And when God's people saw them running away, they cheered. God had saved his people. David was a hero. Jackson and Cullen and Elliot.
Mine thing.
That's right. God made David a hero.
He was a hero.
Many years later, Cullen, Elliot, Jackson, God would send his people another young hero to fight for them and to save them. But this hero would fight the greatest battle the world has ever known. Who are they talking about? Do you know? That's right. All right, you want to stop it, Jack?